We all have a breaking point. It's a moment when we feel like giving up. But what if your breaking point was just the beginning? Today we break down Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, a story of pain, power, and unstoppable mental strength. Here's how to build an unbreakable mindset. This is part 7 of our series, where we break down the biggest ideas from the best-selling self-help books so you can apply them to your life in under 7 minutes. Let's start with the big idea, the 40% rule. We all have a breaking point, a moment when we feel like giving up. But what if your breaking point was just the beginning? That's what David Goggins discovered when he joined the Navy SEALs. He realized that his breaking point was actually only 40% of his capacity. Most people live at 40% of their potential. David Goggins says, you can push beyond pain, fear, and excuses if you control your mind first. But why do most people quit at 40? Isn't that just human nature? No, says Goggins. It's just the beginning. Your body and mind can go further, but only if you stop listening to the voice that says, I can't. In fact, that voice is a liar. That negative voice is what holds you back. It'll tell you that you aren't strong enough, smart enough, or talented enough. But what if those things aren't true? What if you have more strength, intelligence, and talent than you realize? To find out, you have to ignore that inner voice and push through. That's how you discover your real breaking point. So how do you tune out that negative voice? First, callous the mind. This is one of the most important lessons in the book. Just like hands get tougher through hard work, your mind becomes stronger through struggle. Life throws all kinds of curveballs, but instead of avoiding challenges, Goggins says you should seek them out. Face the pain. Do hard things on purpose. That's how you build mental armor. Here's the thing. Nobody is born a warrior. We're all soft when we're first created. But some people go through the fires of hard work, and they come out the other side stronger, tougher, and full of resilience. That's what happens when you callous the mind. You face discomfort and struggle head on. Now, this doesn't mean you never back down. You do back down when it comes to things like your morals and values. But when it comes to hard work and challenges, you move towards that, not away from it. But simply facing adversity isn't enough. You have to have a clear purpose for doing so. This leads us to our next key lesson, which is suffering is the path. We all suffer from something. Injuries, heartbreak, losing a loved one. But Goggins says there's a difference between suffering from something and suffering for something. In other words, it's the difference between feeling sorry for yourself and working through it to become stronger. Look, suffering is inevitable. You're going to experience pain no matter what. So the only question you need to ask yourself is, will I let this break me or make me? Once you decide to use your suffering to make you better, you'll find the strength inside of you that you never knew you had. That's great in theory, but how do you actually do it? How do you take your suffering and turn it into strength? Well, it starts with doing something that sucks every day. That's your action step. Run when you don't feel like it. Wake up earlier than you want. Take cold showers. The goal isn't comfort, it's growth. See, discomfort is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. Once you understand that, you're off to the races. Most people want to be strong, but they never test themselves. They never get outside their comfort zone. Instead, they stay within the safe walls of what's familiar. And that's okay for a while. But eventually, if you want to grow, you have to break those walls down and build new ones. Higher. Do something that sucks every day. That might be 1 minute of push-ups. That might be a 5-minute run. It doesn't matter what it is as long as you're challenging yourself. If you do that every day, you'll eventually build an unstoppable mindset. We tend to think of the mind as this intangible thing, but it's actually much simpler than that. Your mind is your strongest weapon. It can also be your biggest enemy. It all depends on how you train it. If you want to be an unstoppable force of nature, then you have to condition your mind to be just as strong as your body. Exactly what this book is about. It's about pushing past your perceived limitations and discovering what you're truly capable of. You are more powerful than you think. You've just been untested. Now it's time to rise to the challenge and see how strong you can become. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more. Comment below. What will you do today to get stronger mentally? If you want to continue to level up, we handpicked the next best video for you to watch, which is 7 lessons from the 48 laws of power. See you next time.